All right, everybody, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Patrick Wieland.
Yeah, Patrick Wieland.
So just to kind of like set the stage for people who may not be familiar with him, he's a day trader
He is.
and, like pretty successful one. He's got a pretty big YouTube following.
Yeah, very successful.
And he's kind of known for, making trading, I guess, more approachable,
Yeah, definitely.
especially on YouTube.
Yeah, and specifically he focuses on momentum trading.
Right. Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to dive into for sure.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that is so interesting about him is just like the fact that, you know,
His background?
yeah, like he came from like filming water sports
Yeah, like a total 180.
to like trading.
It is interesting, yeah, how he made that transition.
Yeah, I mean, was there something that like sparked that change or like?
Well, so from what we know about Wieland, it seems like his videography background actually might have helped him in his trading career. Videography requires a lot of like quick thinking. You have to be able to adapt to changing situations.
Right.
And you have to have a good eye for detail and timing.
For sure.
And those are all skills that are also important in trading, so.
Yeah, that's a really good point because I was kind of thinking about it like, when you're like framing a shot, you have to be thinking about like, where things are moving.
Exactly. Anticipation.
Yeah, and like anticipating like where they're going to be and like
Yeah.
maybe that translates to like reading the market or something.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, we know he's big on using technical analysis.
Right.
And that requires, being able to spot patterns and trends in the data. So
Yeah.
it's possible those skills from videography carried over.
So let's talk about those actual tools then, the technical analysis tools that he uses.
Okay.
I was reading that he relies a lot on VWAP,
Yeah. Volume weighted average price.
pivot points,
Uh,
and moving averages. Could you maybe break those down for our listeners and I guess like how he uses them together?
Sure. So let's imagine you're trying to like jump on a moving train,
Okay.
right? You need to know like how fast it's going, where the doors are,
Right.
how long it's going to stay on the tracks for.
Right.
So these indicators are kind of like giving Wieland that information.
Oh, that's a really good analogy.
So VWAP, for example, that stands for volume weighted average price.
Right.
It's basically like a smarter average price for a stock. It takes into account the volume of trades happening at different price points.
Okay, so it's not just like a straight average.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So if a stock has a lot of buying activity at a higher price, the VWAP is going to be pushed higher. And that kind of gives Wieland a clue that there's strong momentum behind that move.
So it gives him a sense of like the force behind the price move or like
Exactly.
how much weight it has behind it.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So then what about pivot points?
Pivot points are kind of like those support and resistance levels you hear traders talk about. They're like the floors and ceilings for a stock's price.
Gotcha.
So these levels are calculated based on the previous day's trading range.
Right.
And they can act like magnets for the stock's price.
Oh.
Wieland uses pivot points to get a sense of where the stock might pause or reverse direction.
So it helps him figure out like when to get in and when to get out.
Exactly. Refine those entry and exit points.
So it's not just blindly following a trend. It's like he's looking for these specific points where the trend might change. So
Yeah.
he's like looking ahead a little bit.
Exactly. He's trying to anticipate those moves.
Gotcha.
And then you have moving averages, which are like smoothing out all the noise of the day-to-day price fluctuations.
Right.
And giving you a clearer view of the overall trend direction.
Okay.
He's particularly fond of the 9 and 20 period moving averages,
Yeah.
which are very common benchmarks in momentum trading.
So is he using those like together or?
He uses them in conjunction with each other.
Oh.
So, for example, he might look for a stock where the price is trending above both the 9 and 20 period moving averages,
Okay.
which indicates an uptrend. Then he might use VWAP to confirm that there's strong buying volume supporting that move.
Okay.
And finally, he'll check the pivot points to see if there are any upcoming resistance levels
Right.
that might, put a brake on the upward momentum.
So it's like he's looking at all three of them together
Exactly.
to get like a complete picture.
Exactly. A confluence of signals.
And if they're all saying go, then he's like,
So
okay,
he jumps on board.
let's ride.
Exactly.
So, but one thing I did want to ask about that is like, with momentum trading, it seems like, you're trying to catch these trends,
Yeah.
you're trying to ride these waves.
Yeah.
But like, how does he decide like, okay, this is when I get off the train?
That's a good question because you don't want to ride it for too long.
Right.
And you don't want to get off too early.
Right, exactly.
So he actually has a pretty specific approach to managing his trades.
which is a big part of what makes him successful.
So this is where the 10 points comes in, right?
Exactly. So he typically aims for a profit target of about 10 points per trade.
Okay.
Now, 10 points might not sound like a lot.
No, I was going to say it seems pretty
Conservative.
conservative for a day trader.
Right.
Yeah.
But it adds up quickly when you're making consistent gains.
Okay.
And, this approach really ties into his whole philosophy of risk management,
Right.
which is something he emphasizes a lot.
Okay, so this is kind of like, I mean, would you say that he prioritizes risk management over
Oh, absolutely.
like going for these like huge wins?
He is all about protecting your capital first and foremost.
Okay.
So he's a big advocate for using stop-loss orders,
Oh.
which is basically like an insurance policy for your trades.
Okay.
You set a predetermined price level,
Okay.
and if the stock drops below that level, your order automatically sells,
Right.
limiting your potential losses.
So it's like a safety net to prevent you from like, making one bad trade and then losing all your money.
Exactly. And he emphasizes that your start loss should be based on your risk tolerance and the specific trade setup,
Right.
not just like a random percentage.
So it's not like a one size fits all
Definitely not.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, it's really interesting to me that he like put so much emphasis on this like risk management and like consistent gains.
Yeah, it's a very disciplined approach.
Yeah, as opposed to like, you see all these like, stories about these day traders who are like making millions of dollars.
Right, the get-rich-quick schemes.
Yeah, and it's like, they're like betting everything on one trade, and it's like,
Yeah, he's the opposite of that.
yeah, it seems like he's like the anti that.
Yeah, slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, exactly. So, I do want to talk about his YouTube channel a little bit because, I mean, you were saying you've watched his videos.
I have, yeah.
What's it like? Like, what kind of content does he put out?
So he actually does a lot of live trading sessions on his YouTube channel.
Wow.
Which is really cool because you get to see his thought process in real time.
So it's not just like him talking about his trades after the fact. It's like,
No, you're watching him as he's making the trades.
yeah.
You see him analyze the market,
Yes.
make decisions, adapt his strategies on the fly.
So it's like you're getting like a front row seat to,
It's like a masterclass in trading,
yeah.
but for free, basically.
Yeah. And I think that's so cool that he like, he could just keep all this to himself.
Yeah, he could.
But he's like putting it all out there for people to learn from.
Yeah, he's very transparent about his process.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And he's also really big on community building.
Right.
He has this platform called Only Prop Firms,
Right.
which is designed to connect traders with proprietary trading firms.
So for people who maybe don't know what that is, could you explain?
Sure. So proprietary trading firms are basically firms that provide capital for traders to manage. So they allow you to trade with larger sums of money,
Right.
and potentially earn higher profits.
Okay.
So Only Prop Firms is like a platform that helps you find the right firm for you.
So it's like he's kind of like trying to like help people who are like, maybe just starting out.
Yeah, he's trying to create a supportive environment for traders.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
I mean, overall, it sounds like Patrick Wieland is like a really like, interesting and unique figure in the trading world.
He is.
Like he's got this really unique background.
Yeah.
He's got this like very specific approach to trading.
Yeah.
It's all about like consistency and risk management.
Yeah.
And then he's also like, giving back to the community
Yeah.
through his YouTube channel and Only Prop Firms.
Yeah, he's a really good example for aspiring traders.
Yeah. So I guess the takeaway for our listeners today is like, if you're interested in day trading, if you're interested in momentum trading,
Yeah.
Patrick Wieland is definitely someone to check out. See if his approach resonates with you. See if you can learn something from him.
Yeah. And, even if you're not interested in day trading, I think there are some valuable lessons to be learned from his story.
Oh, totally.
The importance of discipline and risk management.
Right.
Those are things that can apply to any area of life.
For sure.
So, yeah, definitely worth checking out.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking us on this deep dive.
Yeah, of course.
And we'll see everybody next time
See you.
for another deep dive.
Bye.